Former Illinois House Speaker Mike Madigan making his way to the federal court building in Chicago yesterday. The center square's Jim Talamonte there, capturing the moments that he walks by some video cameras and doesn't really say anything, doesn't really even make eye contact. But clearly, it's a pretty historic trial. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for being with us. Jury selection continuing with the prospect of filling out the panel, including some alternates. But as that's underway, we're starting to see some of the questions being asked to the jurors who could be on, but also those who are removed. So Mike Madigan facing almost 24 corruption charges from a scheme that federal prosecutors say lasted nearly a decade. So let's go ahead and take a look at Jim Talamonte's latest story here. 3 jurors have been selected for the corruption trial of former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan and Illinois Democratic Party Chair. He served as the House Speaker for all but 2 years between 1984 to 2021, or was it 83 to 2021? He was the Democratic Party chair from 1998 until 2021, but he'd been in the House since the 70s, so he had a 50-year career before stepping down. But Madigan and co-defendant Michael McLean, they arrived separately at the federal building yesterday morning. Judge John Roberts Blakey opened proceedings explaining rules of conduct for potential jurors. He also told jurors that the court would move as fairly and efficiently as possible to honor their sacrifice. The judge advised jurors that this trial is going to last about 10 weeks. Only 5 potential jurors took questions from the judge, prosecutors, and defense attorneys yesterday. Blakey asked attorneys on both sides about the possibility of adjusting the estimated trial length in the court's explanations to jurors, but attorneys agreed to economize time, and the judge moved forward without any changes. In the afternoon session after lunch, defense attorneys asked different potential jurors about their favorite television shows and postings on social media. In one case, a defense attorney asked a potential juror about religious beliefs. In another case, a question was asked about a potential juror's favorite flavor of frozen yogurt. 17 potential jurors were released early in the afternoon based on answers to a questionnaire they filled out on Tuesday morning. Attorneys questioned 5 potential jurors individually in the afternoon, making a total of 10 jurors who were screened in the courtroom on Wednesday. A second group of jurors heard instructions and answered questions with a show of hands Wednesday afternoon. And you've got observers, including Republican State Representative Patrick Windhorst, saying that the jury pool already being whittled down quite significantly. Windhorst said that both prosecutors and defense attorneys will be looking for juror sympathy to their arguments. So both sides looking to get the jurors who are going to be sympathetic to them. Windhorst said that the object of jury selection is to get a fair jury that will consider the evidence and determine the facts of the case and get just results. Now, Madigan's defense team had asked potential jurors if they believed that nobody should be a politician for life, if they felt Chicago politicians were corrupt, and if any of them would leave Illinois if they could due to taxes, regulation, or other factors. Jim Talamonte reporting from being in the courtroom yesterday. Attorneys also asked potential jurors if they had affiliations with unions or had strong feelings one way or the other about unions. The judge accepted a waiver from Madigan's co-defendant, Michael McLean, requesting that he not be required to be present for every moment of the trial. McLean's attorneys had discussed the issue with the judge during a pre-trial meeting earlier in the week. So a lot of attention is being given to this. Madigan appeared to be attentive throughout the proceedings Wednesday. He was reading through papers, occasionally writing things down. He faces 23 counts of bribery, racketeering, and official misconduct. Jury selection continuing today in that federal court building. So again, they got to get the jury picked. Then they're looking at possibly having Tuesday being when opening statements are. And of course, the Center Square team will be in Chicago covering this and bringing out those reports. So be sure to go to the centersquare.com for the latest. Former Governor Pat Quinn was in Springfield yesterday on an unrelated event promoting something, but I was able to ask him about the ongoing Madigan trial now. And is Madigan in for some comeuppance?
Well, I vetoed the ComEd bills in 2011 and 2013. I thought they were very bad. proposals for consumers.
And the ComEd bill, by the way, is really kind of central to what federal prosecutors are alleging against Madigan, alleging that he was in a conspiracy with ComEd to get favors for himself and his political allies in exchange for ushering in legislation that gives ComEd billions of dollars in rate increases. There were two different pieces of legislation that went through, and Pat Quinn talking about that yesterday when I asked him if Mike Madigan's in for some comeuppance.
I vetoed them as governor. And Attorney General Lisa Madigan supported my vetoes, and she worked with me. And we said this was a very bad way to go. Nobody knew that there was alleged bribery going on. And I told the speaker back then that this was a mistake. But he proceeded to vote in favor of those bills and vote for the override twice in 2011 and 2013. And I think he should have taken my advice and his daughter's advice back then and not gotten involved in that. And we'll see what the court system and the justice system produces. I believe in the fair system of justice, but the jury will speak.
What you've seen so far, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's just begun, So.
Well, even from the ComEd 4 trial and the evidence that was presented there.
Well, the jury's...
Again, I asked the former governor about the ComEd 4 trial because, he says he hopes for, just outcome and a fair trial. But, we already had one delving into this issue, and that was the ComEd 4 trial, where 4 individuals, including Madigan's co-defendant Mike McLean, already found guilty from a jury in Chicago, and they're still awaiting sentencing on that. But the former governor reacting to what he saw then and what he thinks that could mean for now.
I spoke there. I think one of the meaningful things that came out of that is jurors came out after that verdict and pleaded with members of the legislature today to enact stronger ethics standards in our state. What they heard in that testimony on the ComEd 4 trial was very disturbing to everyday people who are the heart and soul of our state. And they pleaded with the legislature to act. They haven't acted, and I think it's important in the coming year, especially with this trial going on, that Illinois enact stronger ethics standards. When I was governor, I proposed a conflict of interest law to prevent legislators with financial interests in voting on bills. We don't have that in Illinois. Most states do, but our state does not. It's advisory, and it's violated a lot. So we need to tighten that up. And hopefully the events of this year will lead the powers that be, the state constitutional officers and the legislature, to enact these tough ethical standards. I believe, you probably heard me before at this very stand, I believe in an ethics initiative. If you lived in places like Ohio or Michigan or Missouri, not nearby neighbors, voters by binding referendum through initiative petitions can put ethics measures for their elected officials on the ballot. And we need to do that in Illinois. We need an ethics initiative in the Constitution, separate and distinct, obviously, from what we're talking about today.
So, again, former Governor Pat Quinn, who worked with Madigan for years, reacting to the start of the corruption trial against the former Illinois House Speaker. Things are going to get really fascinating as we move forward over the next 10 weeks. We'll do what we can to keep you updated. I believe I'm going to check in with Jim Talamonte tomorrow morning and bring him on to get more of the flavor from inside the courtroom as to how things are playing out. So looking forward to that conversation with the Center Square's reporter in Chicago, Jim Talamonte. All right, so be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and stay up to date with Illinois in Focus Daily.